And for is this the 21st episode, 20th? Oh my God, 21. Oh, good blackjack game. Good blackjack game. We got a special guest. This is a special podcast. Obviously, Ben put an Instagram poll out. Lots of requests were made. We couldn't quite make all of them happen. Paul Tabley was busy. I think Jamie Stout's doing something else. He's in bed. But no, we do have a world champion here. It's not Howard Angus. It's not Wayne Davies. It is the current reigning women's world champion, Claire Fahey. And what a pleasure it is to have Claire on A View from the Hazards. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you, boys. Lovely to be here.
Indeed. Well, this is going to be an interesting episode, I guess. Slightly, well, I don't know. I literally, Ben sort of organised it behind my back, the silent partner. I don't mind that, though. Adaptable. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
The brains behind the operation.
Indeed. Anyway, well, we always start a podcast with a bit of a chat. What you've been up to, Benno? How was your weekend? How was your week? I guess.
Well, obviously we're pre-recording this one a few days early, so I haven't had a chance to do much. But I have got in a lot of golf.
Really?
Yeah. When did we do the last one? Was it Saturday morning?
I think it might have been Monday.
Oh right, so I'd already had my golf lesson.
Yeah, you had, yeah.
In which case, I've played a round of golf. That's pretty much it, and had some physio.
That's no bad thing. Do you go to Hatfield, yeah?
I did, yeah. I had a bit of acupuncture yesterday, and I absolutely hate it. And
Crikey.
I felt like I'd been hit by a car for the rest of the day.
Interesting.
Do you feel better for it today? Medium.
Don't know. I'm literally doing a workout after this, so I'll find out in about an hour and 10 minutes.
Interesting.
That should be good.
And
Claire, what have you been up to during lockdown?
Oh, it's busy life, boys. Crafting, Play-Doh, den making.
Can I come? Sounds sick.
Even full-on kids camp here from 7 to 7.
That sounds like a good way to keep your hand-eye going, though.
Yeah, trying to teach the kids. Actually, most times we get the tennis racket out with the kids, they end up just trying to take each other's heads off. So we've parked that for a little while. We've got like a mini golf.
I was going to say, giving them golf clubs instead.
A mini cricket bat, a mini, hockey stick, anything we got, but normally ends in destruction. But it's been good. There's light at the end of the tunnel. We've got a bit of normality coming back.
Too right, yeah.
A bit more freedom. Haven't yet made it to a golf course, but I hope that's not too far away. Let alone a tennis court.
I'm actually going to be playing golf tomorrow, Claire, about 5 miles away from your house.
Oh, nice. Don't rub it in.
Yeah. Enjoy that. I'll drive past. I'll toot on the way past.
Let us know how it is.
Yeah. Shanks, how about you? What have you been up to this week?
Just been doing a lot of cricket, to be fair. The weather's not been great, but just keeping the training up, I guess. Lots of walking. We're trying to do about 15,000 steps a day. Don't know, tricep dips, pull-ups, and just finish uni, actually.
I was just about to say, I hope you haven't been neglecting your bicep curls.
No, they're today. One day off. And obviously finished uni, so I
finished... Oh, God, mate, sorry, I absolutely, completely interrupted you. You finished uni, and congratulations on your result. You've got to tell everybody what you got.
Yeah, I got a 2-1, so that's okay. I got a 2-1 and reduced my handicap from 10 to 3, so that's the result, that is, in 4 years. They go hand in hand. So finished a bottle of wine to myself last night watching the football. That's what you should do, isn't it? Fairly normal. But no, been a good project. And rather than posting on LinkedIn like all my mates have been doing about their uni result, I'm going to post something about the podcast because I feel like that's more important to me.
Do you know what I find absolutely hilarious?
What do you find
hilarious? You guys have spent 4 years probably acting like complete arseholes.
No change.
Being as laddish as possible and stuff like that. The moment you finish uni, you're like, right, better get my LinkedIn profile going.
Yeah, generally. Honestly, I'm in no hurry to grow up.
Yeah, don't do it.
LinkedIn professional bump.
Indeed.
Anyway, sorry.
Surprising. But, nothing...
Mate, that's awesome. Congratulations.
No dramas. Well, nothing's happened in real tennis.
Yeah, well done, Shane.
Nothing's happened in real tennis has it since we last did the podcast, but no. I guess
we just do a podcast on your university degree.
Absolutely not. Wouldn't be very interesting. Twice a week at Leamington, I reckon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good lecture theatre.
Well, should I get straight to it?
Mate, I would love that more than anything. 5 minutes.
So
that's about it.
I figured I figured that as we had such esteemed company, it would be good to. I'm sure you've done like a million interviews before, Claire, and I'm sure people have read like a million interviews with you. So I'm going to try and not make it too kind of like black and white. And there's going to like some of the questions are going to be like a bit open ended. So the idea there's going to be like probably 4 or 5, and hopefully the idea is there's a bit of a discussion like with each one. Some of them are going to be a bit like specific to you, and then some of them are going to be a bit more like about the ladies' game and stuff like that, which might be a bit more opinion based, and that's where Schenkers and I might be able to chime in. That'd be the idea. But so one of the questions I've always wanted to ask you, which I haven't, which is bizarre because obviously I've known you for a very long time, and
go on, get it off your chest.
Well, no, like I have absolutely like the utmost respect for what you've done in the game so far, and I've always kind of wondered, like literally, what gets you out of bed and like gets you on court to strive to keep going? Because obviously, without being rude, and we always have to like specify, we're not trying to attack anyone or anything on these things.
Mm-hmm.
The ladies' game has obviously been a walk in the park for you for the last. Well, lots of probably a decade. When was the last time you dropped a set? In like 2010 or something?
Yeah, we're not counting, but it was over 10 years ago.
We're not counting. We're not counting, but it's
stats on that.
Approximately double figures.
Manchester 07 World Championship lost in the quarters.
Oh, there you go.
It could have been
Shanks
that.
probably knows that.
Something like that. I did. You know who too?
Penny?
No, Kate Leaning in 3.
In 3, I knew that. Yeah, thought that. Oh well.
Well, you didn't know that because you said Penny. But anyway.
Oh well, fine.
Yeah. So with the ladies' game kind of being like sewn up at the moment, what drives you to keep playing and not keep playing, but like keep trying to train? Because let's face it, you could hang your racket up and just get it out every 2 years for the World Championship and probably still win. So why are you still striving to improve?
That's a great question. I mean, I have thought over the years, like in ebbs and flows as it goes with everybody. You know, when you have a good season or a bad season, you think, bloody hell, I'm putting so much work into this. What's the point? Or, it's more.
Amen.
Yeah.
Every year for you, mate. Every year for you, Benno.
And we all hopefully come out the other side and think, well, that's a load of nonsense. And I've actually thought long and hard about it because, as you say, I do have some easier matches. And I think what's, again, this isn't to discredit anybody else, but winning Opens, for me, hasn't always been the most satisfying thing in the world. Yes.
That's understandable.
Yes, it's great. It's another tally. Look, I would take a title, some champagne, which is always a bonus, a bit of dosh, But, if someone asked me what were my standout matches or my best, I haven't always won them, but they've all been playing in the boys' game.
Yeah.
Whether it's Opens or challenge matches or national leagues. I think everyone expects me to say, winning this open, but actually, it's the competitive side of me, and I've had some great experiences competing. And like I said, I haven't always won those matches, but I think that is what drives me.
But I think, like you say, without discrediting anybody at all, like anybody who plays sport wants to compete like at the level that they, that they want to play against people at their level, and they want to play against people a bit better and strive to improve, right? So again, like without discrediting anyone, go on.
Well, I would. I don't think I could just play the game and then just like dip into ladies' events.
Yeah, good answer. I agree.
I'd have to be like all in and still want to play, national leagues, all the Opens that I can make, and like sensibly kind of give myself targets and training points. I don't know where my end goal is particularly at the moment, in terms of handicap or anything like that. There's a couple of tournaments out there that have eluded me that I would love to win, and that is probably another thing that keeps kind of my focus, my goal. Yeah, but I think it's really the competitiveness that I just love. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like I say.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said there doesn't it's not in any way rude to anybody at all. If you take gender out of the equation, then some of your most memorable matches are going to be the matches that have been the toughest battles, and like you say, win or lose, they've been a good thing to be part of. And it just so happens that in the kind of current climate, but with your handicap relative to everybody else, that those matches are going to be against the boys at the moment. So
exactly, and I've learned the most from those, and I think, like I say, I haven't even half of those I probably lost, but I've come out so much better from it the other side. Even though at the time, but don't get me wrong, I've been devastated. I mean, take it quite to heart, but come out the other side and actually learn from it.
Yes, I think a lot of you get it a lot when you obviously Schenkers, you wouldn't know this, but because you don't work at a club. But
no,
Claire will be able to sympathise with this. You get members that come in a lot and they kind of book the court and they're like, "Oh, can you find me a good game? Because I don't really want to play anybody worse than me." And immediately you're like, "Well, okay. Well, if everybody asks that, no one would ever have a game." But for the kind of the average club player that listens to this, if you're playing somebody 10, 15 points worse than you every time, you're going to lose a bit of interest in playing, which is why you want to have good games and play.
Unfortunately, we don't have 2 million players. One of them.
Exactly. So moving on from that then slightly.
Yeah.
What are you don't need to tell us anything specifically, but presumably your goals are kind of much more geared towards at the moment, do you have any, and you don't need to name names, do you have any specific targets? I remember when I was kind of improving, I used to always look at a benchmark player, as in somebody who was fixed at a certain handicap, and I'd be like, right, that's my next target, that's who I want to beat. And then when I beat them, I'd be like, right, who's next? So presumably you must have a group of 3 or 4 that you think, right, I want to start taking those guys down, and that's the motivator, obviously.
That is the motivator, and a couple of years ago, I remember I had a big 3-setter with Peter Wright at Hampton, and beat him. And that to me, that was
nice.
That was someone on my list who I was like, I'd love to beat Peter. And that's when I was back at Hollyport. We trained a bit there together. Really consistent player, better than me on handicap at Hampton. That was something that I felt like I achieved. And there's a few others out there now. I just think if I can get back to full fitness and continue training, there's definitely probably 3 names out there that I'd like to.
Do you know what? I'm not gonna do that here.
Is one of them me? Is one of them me?
I reckon I can name 2 of them. I reckon I can name 2 of them. Yeah, I don't know why. I've just got a feeling. We'll have to put it
to a poll.
We'll put it out on the.
Oh my god, that could be an unreal Insta poll,
We'll put it on the edits.
Always wanted to beat Mark Hobbs.
Well, as I said, right at the start, I think obviously I kind of assumed the motivation would be things like the 0 to 9s and winning Premier Division, National Leagues, and trying to beat probably a handicap goal. I imagine obviously getting to 0 must be a goal because you've got a couple of points away before, 2.5 or something, 2.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's a target, I would assume. Obviously, there's a couple of kids running around now, so it might be a bit more difficult.
It's definitely more difficult
in terms of being able to put the time in.
But I gotta think that I'm a little bit through the woods. They're getting a bit older, and it's getting easier.
Well, you've also got to assume, maybe incorrectly from my perspective, that the other half of your household may be investing slightly less time into their tennis over the next 10 years, which opens the door to a bit more out of football.
Yeah, he keeps threatening that actually. So
I'm talking about your dad, by the way. Obviously.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Sarah Vigrass.
She already gives less time to her tennis. Don't worry about that, guys.
Oh, makes sense.
Exactly. Is that so? She does exactly what I said. You could do, and just turns up every 2 years, and you win her a world doubles title.
Wheel her out of retirement every year for British Open.
Thanks, sis.
Yeah, she's still got it. She still knows what she's doing.
Yeah, very, very good player. In fact, I remember when the Ladies World Championships was here at Leamington, and she was playing Penny in the semis, and somebody kind of said to me before, like, how do you think this is going to go? And I was like, this will be the best match of the whole event.
Nice.
Like this, this could be an absolute humdinger. And Sarah wiped her like 1-on-1 in about 35 minutes. I couldn't believe it.
Marcus Dream.
Do you remember how that final went then?
3-1. 3-1.
Do you know what was actually interesting? Interesting is that Sarah's semi-final was quicker than yours.
Damn.
Yeah.
She's going to hold that over me, guys.
And I do remember the final because we had the dinner the night before, which was in the bar. I think we'd had the dinner the night before the final, and I drank exclusively champagne all evening. And I remember waking up the next morning for the finals and sitting, like lying in bed thinking, okay, I don't feel that bad. I think I've got away with it. Sat up and was like, shit, I've not got away with this.
Can't see chases.
At all. And I remember marking the plate final between Izzy, Izzy Hunt, was she?
Yes,
I always get them mixed up. She was at Oxford, right?
Yeah.
Izzy Hunt and Saskia Bolliman played in the plate final, and I remember being stood at the net and just watching the ball go in the corner and just being like, I just physically have no idea where this is going. And I was so panicked for the singles final.
The world-class marking there, Ben.
That got away with it, I think. Well, no, because I think it was after lunch, wasn't it?
I was more going to mention the fact that I think Sarah went 3-love up.
Yeah.
Definitely 3-1.
I've watched it on YouTube. She's playing. She comes out of the blocks like absolutely firing in that game.
Yeah. That was such a good day at the club as well. Like the atmosphere and stuff. There were people all sprawled across the top gallery. Like that was probably the best day I've had.
It was buzzing. When we talk about competitiveness or not, I think World Championships aside, for me they always like, even regardless of the score, I think because there's so much on the line, reputation, and also that has been my goal for the longest time, and I hope that I can kind of retain it for as long as possible.
Yeah, obviously there's a legacy target as well, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly, without doubt. And you want to uphold that, and with that becomes every year or every 2 years, it becomes a little bit harder for that next person to see you on the other side of the net, just because you've chalked up another couple of years.
Yeah, Claire, I actually think you're almost bigger than the game in that respect. Your role as world champion is actually more like ambassadorial rather than like a playing thing. So let's say when you say you could just rock up every 2 years, I feel like if you did that, your role as like an ambassador, as a role model, would be diminished. Like let's say I've mentioned a lot of times, like when people at uni have asked me like, oh, do girls play real tennis? And I'm like, literally, like the best ladies player is like an absolute jet. Like she plays with the boys and whatever, and it's almost like you could take that out of a real tennis context and say like, and almost inspire people, and that's where I see you in the game. And yeah, would use that as an example. Hence why you're going on my LinkedIn. But anyway, don't worry.
Hence why I'm on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Means to an end.
So I'm not going to go into this because it puts you in a sticky situation. The last thing I want to do is have you like being quoted and saying anything political or anything like that.
Okay.
But personally, I cannot understand how the Ladies World Championship is just an open event. Like, not when I say an open event, how it's just like it's just another draw. Do you know what I mean? I think one of the most amazing things about the Men's World Championship is that you have this qualification process and you have this, like, everything is kind of like the timeline is geared towards the challenge match. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think the ladies, because it's effectively another tournament. Do you know what I mean? Because it's the same format and things like that. And obviously with the level of depth currently in the ladies' game, I don't think it's ever been in a situation, like a better situation, to adopt that same thing. Anyway, I'm not going to. You don't need to comment on that. But,
well, I can say a few things though on the background of it. We worked. Like, I agree. I remember playing like my first couple, and I feel like Leamington was still one of them where we were, Sarah and I were in the first rounds.
Yep.
Playing people probably, I don't know, 50 points worse.
You had a full round of 32.
There we go. And I remember Sarah having to
with qualifiers.
Sarah
oh my God.
Like a half day off work.
Yep.
To travel all the way to Leamington, play a match, and all the way back. and that highlighted it to us that something's got to change. I'm all for people wanting to play, but when you got quality of matches, we want them to be competitive. We want them to be respected more than anything. We don't want someone thinking this is, because whatever the standard, if you've got a close match, it's competitive and it's worthwhile. So what has happened from there is that the draws are now far more staggered.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there has been progression. The challenge system was shot down. The argument being that they don't want to change it now, basically just because I'm in this position of having 10 points clear or whatever. They're saying in the future, what if there's 4, 5, 6? You can't just change it.
Well, that just makes it, but that makes it even better, doesn't it?
Even better for it. The ideal at the moment would be something like an 8. I think what was proposed was like
That's like a halfway house, isn't it?
Was an 8-person draw.
Yeah.
This would be the ideal 8-person draw, because actually, if you take me out of the equation, there's the next.
It's very close.
Oh, very close. And anyone on their best day, you take the last World Championships, Izzy Candy beat Tara Lumley in the semi-final.
Yeah.
Serious?
In a really close 2-setters, a complete upset. Izzy just had, didn't miss anything, and I think Tara was taken back by it. It really was who had their best day, and the idea would be if there was an 8-person draw, and then that winner came through to play the world champion.
Surely not in a best of 3 though.
That's
Surely that would have to be like a longer format than a best of 3, because I know obviously like Claire on paper you just win. But would you not think, let's say, like the World Championships, obviously a best of 13 sets, you might have to go a bit bigger than just a best of 3 match?
Yeah, and also I considered it when we were doing the Aussie World Championships, and the idea of flying all the way to Australia to play one best of 3 match.
Oh yeah, true.
That's true.
Is pretty punchy. When also the others would have had 3 matches on that court, so on and so forth. So there's arguments both ways.
Because obviously, what you don't want to do, obviously, because largely, broadly speaking, I think there are only 2 female pros. Is that right? Yourself and Kate Leeming.
And Les,
sorry. Okay, competing, let's say.
2.
In like the Sarah incident, well, it's not an incident, but what you don't want to do, because it's largely so apart from you, the next 10 best players, there's 1 pro, which is Kate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you don't want to do is detract someone like Sarah from playing because she's got to bounce up to Leamington 3 times in a week to play, not pointless matches, but that's a serious investment of time. And I imagine for her to go, I've got to get 3 trains up to Leamington after work to play. Can I really be bothered?
It's the amateur game, Ben. It's the amateur game.
Yeah,
That's what we go
do
through.
you know what I mean? If she then kind of goes, that's actually just, there's a line and that's just too much ag for me, and she's not going to do it, the game loses one of its best players. Well, not the game, but the tournament.
It all comes back to having depth. If I asked you your first round of British Open, Ben, you guys get seeded through a round, but your first match is still basically a waste of time, right?
Only in the last few years.
Okay, so okay, fair enough.
In fact, I used to think being seeded through was absolutely brutal because the first round used to be so strong.
Yes.
And you turn up for your last 16 match, and you think, hang on a minute, I'm playing somebody that's like on paper 2 points worse than me, but they've already had a match.
Exactly. So you go back to kind of they've had a practice on the court, they've had that competitiveness in front of the crowd, but now everyone in that first round is going, great, I've got a cracking match here to have a go at. And then I'm going to get a lesson from the guy in the next round, sorry, I can compete, but there's no, I might get 3 games, or, it's very rare that you would get
some ranking points there.
There we go.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And this is where we get quite savage on this podcast. And I remember having this conversation with many people, and they're like, "Oh, what's the point?" And I'm like, "Well, get better then, train." Don't don't turn up and get like 1-1 and 1 against me. Like that's not. It's not. Sorry, it's not you. You can't say
I've been there.
Well, you can't say like I'm ruining the game because you're not good enough to compete with me. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's you're not ruining the game clearly. Like it's just I don't understand. I don't understand why people aren't actually like, oh, that's actually quite cool to get through to the last 16. I think that's cool.
If people kind of what is frustrating is again it depends what people's goals are and what their drives and ambitions are. But when I was like the kind of single figure player and I drew like a +2 or something, I would think to myself, right, I'm going to go and like give this everything I've got, and then I'd probably learn a couple of things from it, and that enabled me to then improve. Whereas like some people, you know, I've turned up and played some people and they've just been hungover, and I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I'm not going to win, am I? I'm like, well, then this is a waste of everybody's time.
Exactly.
If you're not even going to try, then what's the point?
It's like Andy Fowler against Claire in Manchester, hungover.
A bit rude.
With the spider bite.
I know that was the excuse he gave. That was the excuse he gave, wasn't it?
Right. Anyway, because I've got a few. Right. I was gonna just because I don't want to read up. The second golden rule is this podcast will not be an hour.
Okay.
50 minutes or so. 50 minutes. We're fine. Benno, we've got another 10 minutes. We're golden.
Exactly. Well, I've still got like quite a few questions.
Oh, so. keep going. We'll adapt.
Well, this is more important than talking about Oxford. So if we skip it and this is a special, then we can do that next time.
Mate, we'll just do 5. We'll just do 5 minutes on Oxford. It'll be fine. I'm on the clock.
So we've kind of mentioned like the family in the future and stuff, and I think you've kind of answered like I was going to say like, you know, what does the future hold for you and stuff. Basically, you're still going to compete as far as we know, and you're still going to strive to try and get back down to those low single figures, and you've got some people on your list and stuff.
Yeah, I've always got people on my sites. Obviously, taking on the oratory kind of tennis master position is going to change things a lot. But yeah, I still want to compete, and you still see me in the tournaments I can make. And you know, I still sacrifice an awful lot of time to train, you know, and to go on court. So, you know, there might be other things going on, but you know, it's still very much, you know, part of my goal, really.
Wonderful.
So, so watch out, ladies. She's not going anywhere.
Watch out.
Good.
Watch out.
Good.
Good, because Shanks, you know, you're an ambassador. Remember?
Too right. I need to tell my mates that women play and women are excellent at the game. That's what they like to hear.
So the next thing I want to ask you about, and I know I've actually seen like a published interview with you before, so I know you've already had this question. You probably had it a million times, but because you know, the aim of this podcast is not to just talk about like elite real tennis the whole time. We've done a lot of like podcasts on like coaching points and stuff like that. So we try and make it inclusive to everybody. The beauty about this sport is that you can, like, there are so many different ways to play and styles of play and tactics and things like that. Would you both agree?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So if we just take the average male and the average female, the average male is generally speaking going to be built physically in a way that will enable them to run faster and be stronger without without training, right?
Yeah.
Have I worded that acceptably?
Yeah, that's it's a fair comment.
So what have you like? So you've obviously had to do like quite a lot of thinking around the game to, you know, kind of jigsaw your way in and negotiate your way through some of these people. And I've always said that at club level, as a pro, if you take a male and a female at exactly the same handicap, the female will look so much better than the male because of, you know, the male's like increased strength, so they don't need to worry. They don't concentrate on the important things because they just kind of charge into the corner and think, well, worst case scenario, I'll just kind of hammer it into the wall and I'm strong enough to get it over the net. Whereas the ladies are so much, you can see them thinking about it a lot more, and it looks so much tidier. So, what are your strengths as an athlete, and what have you had to try and kind of do more of, or not give up, but kind of put on the back burner to get to where you are?
Gosh, it's a long list.
It's a great question, Benno.
It is a good question.
Well, as in, put it this way: if we put you on court with Lewis Gordon, and we say, right, the two of you are going to play a 3-set match, but basically the competition is to see who can hit the dead on the hardest, you're going to lose that.
Without doubt.
Right?
Without doubt.
So you would obviously approach Lewis, well, you might approach everybody in the same way, but, do you see what I mean? So, what do you think your strengths are? What are you better at other people at?
So I suppose, and this isn't in a sexist way at all, but without doubt, as I've got better, I'm coming up against guys who are basically much stronger, and they're using a lot more power on the court, as you suggest. But of course, the better you get, the better you are at using that power. So a lot of the things that I focus on now are, you wouldn't believe it, but I have been working on a volley, for example, but actually doing a lot more thinking on, I'm never going to be able to defend, say, Lewis Gordon going Mach 10 at the dead on. First of all, I probably don't want to.
Well, none of us want to.
Exactly. And
none of us can.
There's other things I'll be looking at. Instead of, me saying, how can I not get this volley back? I'll look at it and say, well, how did I give him that ball that gave him that shot to hit the volley? So I'm looking at it from a step behind, thinking, well, okay, my volley doesn't need to be amazing. I just need to take a couple of steps back and go, don't give him that ball middle off the back wall, where he's going to be able to take it on.
Yeah, and if you kind of are in a rally situation and you put the ball up and you see that it's going to hit the back wall, you're then, because you're a good thinker of the game, thinking, right, I know what's coming now. So you're actually looking for the force. Rather, you might then kind of go, right, I don't want to give him that again, but you're also going to kind of look for it and go, right, I'm poised and ready to try and either get the volley or take evasive action.
I'm so much more aware that that's coming versus being against a female down the other end who potentially that would not be. Well, just saying that, it could be female or male. There's plenty of male players out there who I would say don't use that, or that isn't their strength.
Yeah. And that's the style of play thing, isn't it? You
Guilty.
could give that ball to Lewis Gordon and you know it's being hit very hard. You could give it to someone else and you know that it might go into a gallery or a corner or something.
Exactly. I don't have to cover that ball, but it's just, so it's not necessarily based on whether it's a female or male, but it's definitely about, I've learned, it's much more about, the style of play, which as you come down the ranks, all the way through kind of junior tennis, I'm playing a lot of men at the club along the way, and there's just different styles. But you are right in that men would use a lot more strength to get out of difficult positions. I think overall, it's a lot more thought that has to go into the game, basically, for me to try and mitigate your strength, which would be, power.
Yeah, so I would say that what you do better than somebody else of your exact handicap would be you're tactically far more aware, and you probably read the ball a lot better than other people of exactly the same standard or level or whatever. That's what I would say.
I think my goal, which is a big goal, which would be, I think when I was down at my best handicap, I was probably at my fittest and my strongest. And there was, without shadow of doubt, it was more the gym work. I wasn't doing anything different on court than I am, well, not necessarily today, but from kind of an average season, it was all the off court stuff.
I've said to Schenkers many times since we've been practicing, I said, one of the big things I noticed from 0 to +5 was literally just being fitter. Because you've just got to work hard. And I haven't actually mentioned this to Schenkers, so I'm going to call you out now.
Go on, bro.
So Schenkers had a really good battle with Jamie Douglas in the British Amateur this year and lost in 5 sets.
Yeah.
And he would come off court and say, I was fine. I felt I was fit enough to do that. The big difference is, right, Jamie won the first 2, Schenkers won the next 2, and then what was the score in the 5th? Schenkers
6-2.
Right. So Jamie Douglas has played a lot of British Open matches, a lot of Bathurst matches, a lot of 5-set matches. You haven't. So you're obviously a fit guy, but nothing can like nothing can prepare you for that last set shootout.
I was almost just like excited. I was just like excited to be there.
Yeah, but being like overtrained. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
So going back to like a force example is if you've got like the hardest hitter in the world hammering it straight down the middle at you every time, if you can deal with that, when you go and play anybody else, you're like, okay, well I've got loads more time. Yeah, because this is slower than what I've trained. So you overtrain, and then it becomes like a lot easier. So like I completely understand what you're saying about not doing that much tennis differently to when you were at your when you were at your best. You might still get there, but when you were at like a handicap 2, say being fittest and strongest, you just walk on court and go, I'm not going to be physically broken at the end of this, so I can just go as hard as I want.
I mean, the feeling was amazing, and I think I can't remember what obviously like in those years, Rob and I, we'd have the same training. We trained together, and it was coming up to like one of his world championships, and I remember I won a match. I'm trying to think who it was against, but it was it was the fittest I've ever felt, and it was a great win. I'm trying to think who it was, and then I was thinking, gosh, if I feel like this, Rob's going to be exactly in the same position. That it's actually none of it's to do with tennis. The tennis does not change. My tennis from when I was a 2 to now is, I'm still trying to do the same things, but it's whether or not your body can physically cope with it.
Yeah.
Imagine walking on court, like flip that round. Imagine walking on court or walking down the corridor for your match, knowing that you are massively out of shape and how like
after 3 months of isolation.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we all feel.
What a negative, like what an immediate like negative like nagging thought you'd have in the back of your head straight away. Like, God, am I physically going to be able to cope with this today?
Yes.
You've already got that like immediate doubt in there.
It'll play mentally on you the whole time, just thinking I need to finish this point, or I'm going to start cramping. It's not a good place to be.
Do you know what? So, as an example of that, when in the US Open last year at Tuxedo, Chappers was playing Darren, and they were having like a
great match. Great match.
Chappers won the first 6-4, and the second was really tight.
I think Daz won the second.
Yeah, well, let me get there.
Sorry, mate. I remember watching it.
Spoiler, great. Well, I won't finish the story now. No, we were all, obviously, as no disrespect to Chappers, everyone was kind of like, "Oh, go on, Darren," because it's not necessarily wanting Darren to win, but this is closer than on paper it has been in the past. Darren snuck the second set 6-5, and somebody said to me, so it was 1 set all. Somebody said to me, "Oh, what do you think is going to happen from here?" And I was like, "Darren's going to get 2 more games tops." And they were like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, because Chappers is fit enough that he's going to be thinking, oh, okay, that's 40 minutes of my life I'm not going to get back, but I'm still fit enough to roll out to do that for another hour and a half, 2 hours." You know what I mean? Whereas Darren's going to go, shit. At some point, he's going to like go for a ball and go, oh shit, I'm just in a world of hurt now, and then that's it. It's literally game over at that point. and it is, and that's and that's what it's like. Anyway. Much more political now because this has all been too easy.
Go on.
So the ladies' game currently is a very nice game for you at the moment. So you've kind of seen off like the rise of like a couple of people. I think you retired Karen Hurd. Well done. So we've got. I absolutely don't want to make this personal at all. We've got Leah, who's burst onto the scene.
Yeah. She's
obviously trying to make a run at it, and she's making good strides. And she's, is she number 2 officially?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's doing very well in kind of trying to distance herself from that chasing pack.
Mm.
Now, obviously, that's a good thing for real tennis as a whole. It's a very good thing for the ladies' game as a whole. What do you? How do we as a sport find more of these people, and how do we? Because there seems to have been over the years. So when like Charlotte was the first lady to ever get to single figures. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Penny was about 10 or 11, I think, at her best.
Got really close.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, that kind of 10 or 11 number has in the past been not a barrier, but it has seemed to have been like a bit of a limitation. You've obviously pushed yourself through that, which is fantastic. And then after that, it generally tends to be about 20, right? That's where like the next kind of bulk of people kind of sit at. So, like it's a bit of a two-parter. How do we get more like extreme talent into the game, and how do we push that chasing pack? How do we push them so they're not sitting at 20, but they're sitting at 12 or 13? Do you know what I mean?
Time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you would love to maintain your legacy and improve your legacy, but I'm sure you would love nothing more than to turn up at a Ladies US Open and think, right, I've got a 13 handicap in the quarters, a 10 in the semis, and if Leah's off 6 or 7, I've got a good final as well.
Yeah, I think it's funny because, like you said, as people kind of, it's not rude to say, but like step out from the pack, drop those couple of points. A couple of years ago, Tara got down to 17, I think.
Yeah.
There was a season where Sass was making big improvements, Saskia Bollerman. People kind of say it to me and almost expect me to be negative about it in a way that that I'm being chased or but it's far from that. In that I think I'm like, as I said right at the beginning of this, I'm here for competition. I'm all for it. I'm like, let's lay it on the line, and whatever the distance there is between us, or great or small, I still want to push myself to giving the best I've got. If there was even 4, 5, 6 people around that low team, it would be awesome. It would be so good. It'd be so good. It'd be so much better for the game. There'd be better matches. Everyone would then push each other on. I think that's what's happened with the group in the low 20s. It's been so competitive for them that they've all kind of benefited from that, versus being kind of spread out. A couple low 20s, a couple high 20s, when realistically the matches actually aren't that competitive.
But like the 90s, wouldn't it? Like the 90s, that group, there were so many people in the teens in the women's game.
So many.
That must have been sick as well. That must have been so good.
And you look at the draws, and they were, they're competitive, right from the first round. Like you say, I think it's really hard now. Like 20 is a very good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good standard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm certainly not criticising it at all.
But it's a really hard one to nail down. I feel like they're all going out there doing the same thing, and they just think, if I keep playing games, something will click and I'll just improve again. We all know you basically plateau, improve.
Well, you improve if you look at things and notice things and seek that improvement. And I think a lot of people don't. And I say, I'm not talking about the ladies' game. I just mean in general. They plateau and then they kind of just get stuck and they don't fight to try and get out of that plateau.
Exactly, unless you've got that drive and you're like, I'm gonna break 20, I'm gonna break 15. I don't think people really appreciate sometimes how hard it is to crack those numbers. They just kind of go, I'm just gonna keep improving.
No, it's not. It's not just.
It's just going to be a steady improvement, and then I'm like, well, you're not going to get to plus 60. So
doesn't work like that.
You've got to do something.
It doesn't keep happening. So I actually, 20's good, but I don't think it's something that is wow. It shouldn't be a wow.
It shouldn't be a wow.
Cracking 10 is wow.
Perhaps some people see 20 as wow and they're satisfied. They're too satisfied.
I remember playing with having a hit with Paul Tabley once when I was off about 12, and I think it was the first time he'd ever really seen me play or anything, and we finished having a hit, and he just went, wow, and I was like, what? And he said, you play off 12 and you haven't got a fucking clue what you're doing. And I was like, oh shit. And he goes, no, you're able to play off 12 just by playing, and once you start thinking about it and figuring stuff out, the possibilities are so open to you at that point. And I think people just kind of have those blinkers on, and they're unwilling to take a bit of a risk and have a bit of a punt, and as we all know, put the time in to try something different and see if it works. Like I know you've worked a lot on having like a volley return to serve, like since you've kind of been playing in like the traditionally men's like tournaments.
Yeah.
And that would have been a conscious decision from you to go, right, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to invest a lot of time in it. And what people don't realise is you would have had probably baskets and baskets of hitting like complete trash and thinking, why on earth am I doing this? But at some point, it starts to get better, and you go, right, this is now a viable like weapon. You know what I mean? The practice is worth
and also,
it.
you basically sacrifice matches, don't you? And we all know it. You're like, I'm just going to stand out here and I'm still going to do this.
Yeah.
Because at some stage I've got to bring it into my game, and but there's a further goal. It's not just like now I need to do this now, which I don't know. That's the opinion. Maybe it's wrong, but that's the opinion I get of. A few that they just think they'll keep improving if they keep doing the same thing. I'm like, well.
So here's a question for you then, which you may not have been asked before. Do you think, I'll ask it, and then if you want me to elaborate, then I will. Do you think you have ruined the ladies' game?
Oh, what a question that is, Matthews.
Can I explain that question?
Go on.
So do you think, when I say ruined, do you think that a lot of ladies are playing and hovering around that 20 mark and thinking Claire is so far in the distance, it's just not worth me putting in the practice? So let me rephrase it a different way. If you weren't there and you retired tomorrow, do you think that group around that 20 mark would go, I'm going to kick on now and try because it's worth it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I see.
Because the fact is, if they said, yes, we are going to do that because Claire's gone, then that's a really negative, defeatist attitude, and it's a waste of everybody's time. They should be doing that anyway, but I'm just thinking, if the perception from somebody was different and they didn't have this Everest to try and climb...
Everest.
Do you think that...
Good nickname.
People might try harder?
I mean, I totally understand what you mean. You can see that what is achievable and what's not. I'd like to think that breaking certain barriers along the way, that other women would see it as it's totally achievable. This with hard work and time.
Well, it has to be achievable because you've done it.
Would they put more effort in potentially to crack that extra 5-6 points to give yourself a bit of breathing room?
So yeah, if you retired tomorrow and then Leah became the world number one, the gap between Leah and the next group, if you like, is obviously smaller. So they might go, she's gettable. Do you know what I mean? Because they may have beaten her a few times when Leah was improving, whereas a lot of those people would have never got more than like 2 games off you ever, because you've obviously been beating longer than them. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder if, and it's a compliment, I wonder if your dominance, it's one of those things where people just, as soon as they see your name on their side of the draw, they're just like, game over.
Yeah, but if Claire wasn't there, it would just be like, I mean, deep down they'd surely know. I mean, I know this is hypothetical. I say if Claire had never existed, crikey, what a thought. However,
this podcast is getting brutal, guys.
No. Like, it just, let's say, as you say, if Claire retired tomorrow, deep down they'd know, oh, well, I mean, I'm only world champion because Claire's not playing. So, I mean, I can't see it. I can't see
what you mean by that, but you can only beat who's in front of you, right?
Exactly.
It would be like if you look at the men's side of it, or no, let's not. Let's say Claire does retire tomorrow and Leah wins the next World Championship, and people go, oh yeah, but you're not as good as Claire. You go, well, yeah, that's your opinion, and maybe not, but the fact is, Claire's not here, so
yeah, I
don't have to beat her. So
Claire's not ruined the game.
I'm not saying for 1 second I'm the best player ever. I'm just saying I'm the world champion now because I'm the best player who currently plays.
People have asked me a lot, kind of when you win Opens and it's like a tiny draw, and I do stick by the saying, yeah, you can only beat who's in front of you.
Exactly.
I would love for the draw to be, twice, 3-4 times as big. I'd love for them to be loads of team players, single figurehead, but you can only achieve, what's there and what's to be done. So if
Very
I wasn't
true.
there, you couldn't take it away from the next person because your handicap wasn't as good as hers or whatever. It's for them to.
Yeah, so if someone wins an Open and you're not there, someone's like, well, Claire wasn't there. They'd be like,
yeah, I'd
well, it's not my fault. It was an Open. Claire was allowed to play. She just chose not to.
Exactly. There we go.
So I saw it as an opportunity to win an Open, and I did.
And so when you talk about me, really,
I would kill for like the top 9 of the top 10 not to turn up to a men's Open.
I'd beat you, Ben.
I'd be more than happy with that.
There's still that drive because in the women's game, not everyone travels at all. It's far different. Obviously lots of amateurs, lots can't get the time off work. They've got to choose maybe one to go to. It really is kind of game on as to who. If you can get a title, which is huge. Your name's going to go down in history. It's going to go on the honours board. Everyone gets like a fair crack at it.
That's what we live for.
Well, that's just it, isn't it? If like Tara wins an Open and you're not there,
she has done.
Like exactly. In the annals of time, there's not an asterisk on the honours board that says like Claire Fahey didn't play this year.
Same with Saskia.
Your name's on the board. Do you know what I mean? You've won it. Well done.
Yeah. Just quietly, Matthews. We're on 51 minutes, so I think we're skipping Oxford. We'll do it next time.
Yeah, I'm done. I just wanted to.
Do you know all your questions?
Yeah, I think so. I just wanted to get like everybody's opinion on it because it's not like because we've got Claire on, we haven't just used. We haven't just we have used that as an opportunity to like delve into the ladies' game.
I like it.
I think it's one of those things. Like I think we'd all like to see a more competitive tournaments, and I'm sure Claire would as well. Because like you say, you would. I'm sure you would love to be able to turn around and say at the end of your career, right, I won 91 like Open singles titles, and do you know what? 70 of those I had to really work. That I'm not saying you wouldn't be proud of the other ones, but like they would, they were serious achievements. I've had to like fight off some serious competition to win those.
Yeah, and I think it's just about being competitive. The matches I've had, let's take World Championship finals, have been, let's say, maybe 50% of them have been competitive to an extent. Where I think the tennis is respectable. Like it's really. I've come off court. Okay, yes, I've won. The scoreline hasn't been kind to my opponent, but I've come off and gone. Do you know what? If someone saw that online, they would respect women's tennis. I think that's all I really want. I want someone to look it up and go.
Great point.
Yeah, these ladies are out there and they're just as good as the men in terms of competition and good tennis to watch. That's the end.
Great point.
Yeah, and I think absolutely well said. And I think that the ultimate way to gain respect in something is to give it your all and to treat it like professionally, right?
Yeah.
Effectively, you could turn up to the next British Open based purely on like handicap difference. If you turned up to the next British Open and you walked on court with one racket and a little kind of 25 milliliter cup of water. And didn't take your sweats off or whatever and just pushed it around and won, that would be far less respectful. So I think actually what is like so ruthless about you is your ruthless like professionalism and kind of saying like, right, I don't care who it is at the other end of the net. Like I'm gonna beat you. And I'm gonna advertise this game and show everybody that it's serious and stuff like that, which is.
I think someone told me really young that basically if you get whooped, love, the person's got more respect for you than if they cruise around and beat you, 4-4. To beat someone and basically not take your foot off.
Because it means every point means something, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and if you get your game, you kind of go, I've earned that because I know that this person doesn't give me anything.
Yeah, 100%. So when someone gets a game, credit to them because trust me, I don't want to give you a game.
Yeah, neither.
And that's but that's the same men's or women's. Of course, 100%. I don't want to give up any games.
Well said. No one wants to know. I don't walk on court for a British Open round of 16 match and think, God, I hope this goes 5 sets today. I really want to be out here for 3.5 hours today.
Perfect. Well, we're on 54 minutes. We always finish the podcast with a few questions. So, Claire, what are you up to for the rest of today?
Back to my Play-Doh, guys. Actually,
Seriously?
I've just been out of parenting for an hour, which has been dreamy.
Oh wow!
Should we do it? Should we go straight into another one then?
Freddie has a nap around midday, so hopefully I get a little training going on in the corridor downstairs. It's very luxurious.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What does training in lockdown consist of for you? I mean, I know I did see the Play Brave. You took over the Play Brave story for the day.
We did. I'd love to have shown everyone. In fact, I will do one day when I've got enough time, like the bloopers or the outtakes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something like, "I'll show somebody one day what we actually did."
Well, no, like Instagram versus reality.
Yeah.
Is very different, I would say. We've got like a little gym set up at home, but honestly, I'll take a photo. Most of our gym is done in a tiny corridor from our front door to the living room, and most of it is done without any equipment, just to get the heart rate up, just to make sure Rob and I aren't rolling out of the last 4 months.
Do you know it's tough, isn't it? Because I was actually talking to one of my members yesterday, and they were like, "So you fit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing like some serious work because I've got nothing else to do." They were like, "Oh, so you're fit then?" And I was like, "Well, I'm probably not match fit." And they were like, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, I haven't been out there like doing those movements, hitting those balls."
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm probably going to literally crawl off the first practice session with my hands and knees."
Lacking match
I'd be
practice.
worried everyone's going to get injured first up, because everyone's going to hit it and bust a knee or a calf or do something. I wouldn't say we're any fitter, but I'd just say we haven't
lost anything.
We haven't got any fatter.
Aesthetically better.
Yeah,
exactly.
You guys, the decision, the opinion for some others might be different, but
we'll have to look at the first few results for people and see who's come out of lockdown the best.
Yeah, literally, not Leicester. Perfect. Well,
Claire, thank you very much for coming on and giving an hour of your busy day.
This
Thanks,
might actually be a popular podcast. We might get more than 100 views on this one.
Obviously, because we're pre-recording this one, you're not allowed to plug it or anything until it comes out.
Not yet.
We'll let the big release happen.
Indeed, a lot can happen over the weekend. Put it that way.
All right.
Nonetheless, enjoy the Play-Doh, Benno. Enjoy the rest of your day. And until next time.